Corporate climate action has accelerated substantially in the past year, and more businesses are committing to ambitious climate targets. The Boston Consulting Group is one of the frontrunners here and committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2030. Since then, a lot has happened. So, Cornelius, can you describe how you are approaching your net zero goal and what you have learned so far on your journey?
Sure, Christoph, and excited to have this conversation with you. So at BCG, in September 2020, we announced our commitment to achieve net zero climate impact by 2030, and then afterwards to become climate positive, meaning that we aim to remove more carbon from the air than we emit. The main focus of this program is to reduce our emissions in line with the latest science to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. Which means that we have started with defining an ambitious target of cutting the emission intensity of our operations in half by 2025, which has actually been validated by a Science-Based Targets Initiative as consistent with reductions required to keep warming to 1.5 degrees. We started to work towards achieving this goal, and we have a number of programs and activities underway. Also, we have committed to remove 100% of the emissions we are unable to reduce by 2030 using the most effective nature-based and technological removal solutions. This means we need to shift our current portfolio, which is a mix of removals and avoided emissions projects, to a net zero portfolio with 100% removals by 2030. We will do this gradually, given the importance of our near-term support, particularly for forest conservation projects and the nascence of some removal solutions. But we're deeply committed to helping scale the most promising CO2 removal solutions, such as direct air capture. We expect to spend a blended price of about $35 in 2025, rising to about $80 in 2030 in the mix, reflective of the quality of the solutions we are pursuing. And we're excited about our first of several agreements in the direct air capture space and other advanced decarbonization technologies that we expect to sign in the next weeks and months.
Thanks for that, Cornelius. Well, at Climeworks, we are really excited to be part of BCG's portfolio of early solutions. Now, what were the criteria that were important to you when you were creating your portfolio?
I mean, the voluntary offset market can be really challenging for companies to navigate. There's so many different products varying in terms of maturity and potential, costs, risk, benefits, trade-offs, etc. So for us, we have a clear North Star based on what science requires, which is net zero. And if you look at them, all the global pathways to limit warming or that enable, a limitation of the warming to 1.5 degrees require the removal of somewhere between 100 or 1,000 gigatons of CO2 during the course of the 21st century. That is a daunting task, and the investment to rapidly scale those removals is needed now. We have, for us, at BCG, defined a 10-year roadmap for our offsets portfolio, defining our priority mix of solutions and price per ton curve. We have two goals here, really. One is to help scale and advance the most promising frontier CO2 removal solutions, and also to support more mature solutions that exist that will help us meet our own net zero goal. Why are we so interested specifically in advancing frontier removal solutions like direct air capture that Climeworks offers? To us, direct air capture and storage offers the most permanent form of carbon removal and requires significantly less space, helping reduce land use competition. It's very costly, of course. It requires early investment to help scale. We do see a potential with DAC to remove 1.5 billion metric tons of CO2 per year by 2050. Yet current DAC capacity is 9,000 metric tons per year. So way to go. But with the agreement that we are closing with Climeworks and others that are still to come in this space, our goal is to help unlock meaningful DAC capacity in the coming decades by establishing long-term partnerships with DAC leaders so they can scale the broader market and demonstrate the significant impact that can have in enabling companies to get to net zero climate impact. So that's our perspective. But obviously, it would also be great to hear a little bit from you, Christoph, about what's in the pipeline at Climeworks. It's been an exciting year. A lot has happened. On your end, how do you perceive the market for carbon dioxide removal compared to 1 year ago? And what's the impact in your expectation to have someone like BCG as a client and partner going forward?
Well, I've been in this field for 14 years now. Like my first research experiments in direct air capture, I did in the summer of 2007. That is more than 14 years ago. And clearly, the last year, the year that is now ending, is the most exciting year for me personally. Like over the past year, we have seen exponential recognition of the importance of carbon dioxide removal. It is no longer just included in climate models, but concrete actions are being proposed to deploy relevant technologies. Examples are the Science Based Target Initiative that recently launched a new net zero standard, which states that 90 to 95% of a net zero target should be realized by emission reductions, and that any residual emissions should be neutralized through permanent removal and storage of CO2. Additionally, at COP, several initiatives were announced to aim to mobilize investments for the scale-up of carbon dioxide removal solutions more generally, and direct air capture specifically. For example, the Catalyst program in the European Union or DOE's carbon negative shot in the US. Well, on the market side, early adopters like BCG that can integrate direct air capture and storage in their net zero roadmap are leading by example to truly achieve net zero. Companies should, of course, first reduce their emissions as much as possible and remove any avoidable emissions with high-quality carbon removal solutions. Investments now are critical to scale up carbon removal technologies needed, with direct air capture and storage being one of the highest quality solutions currently on the market. As to your second question, Cornelius, having BCG as one of our clients is a very important milestone for us. First, BCG is clearly one of the most diligent and renowned companies worldwide, and having BCG as a partner is confirming the quality of our solution. Second, this is the second 10-year agreement for Climeworks, and we have also just announced a 9-year agreement with a financial service company, showing an increase in longer-term commitments by important global players, which in turn are necessary to finance direct air capture assets.
Super exciting. Thanks for sharing that, Christoph. But there's this new facility that you have just launched in Orca, or called Orca in Iceland. What's the role of this new facility in all of this?
Orca is really relevant because of two aspects. First, as well, the most obvious one, it proves a successful technology development and scale up. And second, and this is maybe less intuitive, Orca forms the platform for early CO2 removal traction and is the backbone for pioneering CO2 removal agreements like the one we're discussing here. And in such, Orca does not only represent an important milestone for Climeworks, but for the entire direct air capture industry and ecosystem. It proves that direct air capture and storage is operational at industrial scale already today. Every ton of CO2 that Orca captures immediately stops contributing to climate change. And thanks to our storage partners in Iceland called Carbfix, the air captured CO2 mineralizes in Iceland's basalt bedrock and is thereby stored away for thousands of years. But we're not stopping there. We have a scale-up roadmap, and we're already planning a scale-up step by 10x in the next 2 to 3 years to serve the growing market demand. Well, in climate science, it's clear we only have a short-term window of opportunity left to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We need to get to gigaton scale CO2 removal latest by 2050, and Orca represents a first crucial and tangible step in this journey that we can build upon. Well, now with that, Cornelius, let me ask you one last question. What are your expectations for the carbon removal market in 2022?
Well, certainly we expect to see demand continue to rise. More and more companies outline their new net zero transition plans and set out long-term climate strategies. which obviously also puts removal technologies on the agenda. We also expect to see rapid advancements on the supply side across the various technologies to meet the rising demand. In many ways encouraged also by recent policy developments to advance high quality permanent solutions like direct air capture and storage. The jury's still out, but let's see what comes out of the Build Back Better bill here in the US and the impact this could have on scaling solutions like that. More broadly, we also hope and expect to see a maturation of the removals market from a measurement and transparency perspective. And we're really encouraged by the role the Task Force for Scaling Voluntary Carbon Markets is playing here. From a BCG perspective, we're committed to continue working with leaders in the carbon removal market using the knowledge and experts at BCG to help scale these services and meet the rising demand. We have also become a founding member a couple of months ago with the Breakthrough Energies Catalyst program, which has direct air capture as one of their 4 pillars. And we're excited to advance the industry on that angle as well. That's why we're especially excited by this partnership with Climeworks now, because we are, as well as purchasing your removal services, also aim to make an even greater impact by acting as your consulting partner in the years to come to help accelerate the broader adoption and scaling of your services worldwide. So we are very much looking forward to the collaboration, and it's great that we can work together on this going forward.
Thank you, Cornelius. Likewise, many thanks for this great partnership.